So I'm taking a break from gardening. I would have wanted to have a break a lot earlier. I'm just eating out of the casserole that I cooked the green beans in. I made some green beans and some quinoa stuff and baked some potatoes. And put some avocado on the potato. James likes it that way, and I think it's pretty good too. But I'll talk about that first. But I am very hungry because I've been gardening. And it looks like it's summer now. So it's time to get everything in for sure. I have everything to get done at once, and anyway, busy. So wearing another good bikini. This one's awesome. I could have it right out, but I feel like just wearing the dress. But it's definitely bikini weather. And I think I have some, I don't think I washed my elbows well enough. I think I still have garden on my elbows. Probably on my knees too. No. So anyway, I'll talk about Wife. So this one, The Wife, stars Glenn Close, and well, I love the look of Christian Slater. I love seeing Christian Slater. So I was happy to see him in a movie, and this was a really good movie. It's worth watching. Now, what it's about is there's the husband here. He has won a Nobel Prize for literature because a whole bunch of books that he's published, apparently the readers liked it. So anyway, and then it's over the course of the show they're showing that really it was the wife who was writing these novels. Like the husband, he had been her instructor, and he wasn't like, she was obviously a better writer than he was, and he didn't even understand that she was a better writer than him. While she was a student, she was having to point out, well, she did this and that on purpose to show this and whatever, and he wasn't seeing it on his own. And anyway, he had been married at the time when he was a professor, and like a lot of professors, he was interested in his students, and so he ended up with this woman. So, and then she ended up writing books, and she was making on like she was editing his books, but really no, she was writing. And she was the reason he won the Nobel Prize. Anyway, so Christian Slater, he wants to write the guy's biography, and he's done research, and he figured out that it was her that wrote the books. And because he talked to people, and he looked into the writing himself, and he realized it was her, not him, because his writing before he met her was, anyway, not quality, not Nobel Prize quality. So so this has been the big secret that they've kept, that she's writing the books, and he's getting published, because she knew that she would never get recognized as a woman, so she just needed to write and get it out there, and it was a good arrangement for them. Until like, it's difficult for her because different things are happening, and the problem is she realizes that he actually thinks that he's won a Nobel Prize. And that's what the problem is. Because this whole time, she's been writing thinking, well, he understands it, right? And that's the thing, like, when, like, different things are happening, he's getting, like, he's cheated on her lots and whatever, and she's just like, whatever. You know, what's most important to her is writing and getting stuff out. And so she's let a whole bunch of things pass, and then it's, what really did it though is that she figured out that he actually didn't recognize the fact that she had won the Nobel Prize, not him. And he was thinking that he contributed much more in other parts of their life and stuff like that. Like, I know, like, when my ex, when he left, he'd call a lot, for some reason. And at first, usually what he'd do is he'd call and he'd have some sort of, almost like an apology for me, but not quite, you know. And so he'd be feeling really bad about something. Like, he'd realize, like, one day he called me to tell me, you did most of the cooking. And I was like, yeah. And I said, but when you did cook, it was good, and this and that, whatever. Anyway, but then he'd call me after, and forget I ever called, because he couldn't apologize. He couldn't, he couldn't recognize it, right? It was hard for him to actually acknowledge things. And anyway, so, but with this guy, he doesn't acknowledge it ever. And so she finally figures it out, and she's like, oh my gosh, I can't deal with this, right? So she told him, don't, when you accept, do not thank me. Do not thank me. I don't want, you know, to be like the supportive wife kind of thing, right? And because it's pointing out what she's not, you know, it's pointing out that she's not this housewife who's just been around, you know, to rub his shoulders and stuff while he writes. But he does. He thanks her, and, you know, that's on like that, and he doesn't understand what he's done wrong, and he's telling her, look, you know, we wrote together basically because, you know, while you were writing, I was taking care of the children so they wouldn't bother you, and this and that, right? And it's kind of like, you know, putting it in the other way around, right? Like, usually the woman is taking care of the children, doing the housework, and doing whatever, right? But they always had a nanny, and he was sleeping with them. And anyway, a lot of the time, like, women, if there's a divorce, they get half, because really, deep down, society recognizes that when the woman has been caring for the children and caring for the house and doing all of this, you know, it gives the man time to actually do his work. And I had an economics professor who recognized that. He was telling us in front of the class, you know, that like one day his wife came in to substitute for him because I guess he was ill or whatever, and that was very, she did a good job, and it was good of him to do that, so rather than cancel the class. And he was talking about how she had an economics background too, right? They both taught economics, but she didn't get ahead like he did because, you know, she was having to manage the house and the children and this and that, and it just took a lot more of her time, and he recognized it, right? And a lot of people don't. So there was a bit of a role reversal there, but then, you know, she was like, no, you didn't even do that, she was thinking, because she was like, when I was writing about, like, she was talking about folding the laundry and how that just showed how she was waiting all the time, right? And And yeah, like when my ex, when a lot of the time when we were around, he'd make a meal maybe once a month or something, and it'd be good. But he honestly, he felt like he was doing it all the time until he was on his own, and then he realized, oh, yeah, I don't, right? And so sometimes it's hard for people to see that. Anyway, so that's really what that was about, and when and he ended up dying. He had a heart attack. So, but there were all these things where he just wasn't. And it wasn't even just that he wasn't recognizing her and respecting her. Like the different, I don't know, the people giving out the prize, they asked him one morning, they wake the couple up in bed, singing to them and bringing him breakfast. They didn't bring her a tray of breakfast. And she's all embarrassed, and she's trying to hide, and she doesn't want people to see her first thing in the morning and whatever, right? And so I guess that's a big deal for her. Some people it is. And but the thing is like the prize people, they hadn't even asked her. They hadn't asked her, is this going to be okay if we barge into your bedroom at whatever in the morning to wake you up? Like, this was just something they didn't see that they needed to ask her. They asked the husband, and he was like, oh, yeah, that's fine. He didn't even tell her. So they're all the way along in this movie, things are happening where she's not being respected. And it's not, but what really did it is that she realized her husband didn't acknowledge her. So, but yeah, I think it was worth watching. I'd really recommend that. And happy gardening.